Oh, okay. And then I had a 7th. I did have a 7th.
Hello and welcome.
Did you say hello and welcome?
I did.
Do that 7th.
I'm not sure what's going on with Otis, but he'll be back. There we go.
I'm right here.
Just 1 minute for anyone watching from
Okay,
home.
you might want to make yourself toward the front because you wanted to say something toward the beginning,
You
right?
need a mic, you need a mic check.
Could you talk?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Hi. Oh, okay, it works. There we go.
I wanted to start by welcoming everyone and thanking our hosts for all the incredible effort put into hosting the Voices and Votes exhibit. It's been a ton of work, and I thank you all for everything that you've done and for putting on this event, which I think fits perfectly within the exhibit. We're going to start today with a guest, from the Center for New Americans making an announcement. Or just talking?
A minute. Grab that microphone.
Good evening.
Laura, do you want to come up?
I will do whatever you would like. I'm Laurie Millman. I'm the director of Center for New Americans, and it's really a joy to be here with everyone. This is a beautiful exhibit, and it's wonderful that you're hosting it. You've done a wonderful job putting it up and convening the panel, which includes one of our longtime staff members. I think one of the things that's relevant about our presence, besides the fact that we've been welcoming and serving immigrants for more than 30 years in Western Massachusetts, is that in addition to offering classes in English for speakers of other languages and immigration legal services, we teach civics. So you'll see we have some flyers on the table that say this is what democracy looks like. We invite all of our local elected leaders to visit our classes and to speak with our students and to take their questions and concerns. And believe that we've actually done an amazing job amplifying our students' voices. So the Work and Family Mobility Act, known fondly as the driver's license bill, was passed after a 20-year fight, but I think our students talking to our legislators for many years and saying, how come they have this in New York? How come they have it in California? How come they have it in Illinois and we don't have it here? And we're a rural community and we need to get to work and we need to do it safely. Why aren't you helping us with this? And so when it finally passed, I think it was carrying the voices of our students. So we invite our legislators into classes, and we go to visit the State House every year when the Mira Coalition organizes Immigrants Day at the State House, and our students have a chance to visit their legislators in their offices and to see the State House, which is pretty magnificent. We also, as you may know, organize a naturalization service every year on the 4th of July. So it's coming up, and I invite you all. It's free, it's outside, weather permitting, and it's very, very moving. So check us out online, check out our materials. You'll enjoy listening to the panel, and thank you.
Okay.
Where are we starting?
I'll just introduce myself. I'll start introducing myself and the rest of the panel. My name is Amal Ahmed. I'm a professor of political science at UMass Amherst, and it is my distinct pleasure and honor to host this panel as an immigrant myself, but also as a scholar of American history and American political development, and someone who understands very well that the immigrant experience is at the very heart of the American experience. This country was born in 1789, a nation of immigrants, and it has continued to be such ever since. Every American story, just about every American story, has some form of immigration at its origin. And of course, we have exceptions to that, the indigenous nations that inhabited this land before its founding, and populations that were forcibly transplanted involuntarily to be in this country. But for many of us, the story was one of migration, one of leaving our homes and our families and things that are familiar to come to the US. It's a complicated tradition, it's a challenging tradition, it's one that we celebrate and grapple with all of the time, including in the present context. So I'm really grateful to have you all here to share your experiences and your insights. I also want to acknowledge that we are hosting this panel on May Day, International Workers' Day, and I think it is quite fitting because the immigrant experience is very much intertwined with the workers' experience. And so I'm very grateful to have our panelists here, and I will start with some introductions. First, to my right here, we have Norzin Wangmo, who is a senior here at the high school. And country of origin is Tibet. Yes. We also have with us Rosa Guerra from Education and Career Advisor at the Center for New Americans. We have Buzz Eisenberg, immigration attorney in Asheville. We have Ana Paula Schanz, social studies educator and originally from Brazil. And Anastasia McWilliams, math educator and union leader, country of origin, Ukraine. Thank you all for being here, and we received a number of questions. We have a very enthusiastic community here, and we have some very enthusiastic students, many of whom submitted questions. And I want to start us off with a question about, based on your own experience or what you've seen from others and in your circles. If you can say something first about the experience of coming to the United States, of migrating to the United States, the challenges, the worries, the hopes, the experience of just coming and settling in the US. Do you want to? Oh, you have the mic, yes, go ahead.
Hi, so I came to the United States when I was 14 from Ukraine. And the reason why I came here is because of my parents. So my parents are very successful, expert electrical engineers. And when they were working in Ukraine on their own company, they had their own business, they were having trouble keeping business and being successful. There were a lot of financial issues in the country. The country was going through some restructuring coming out of Soviet Union. So my parents struggled with their business. And because of that, they looked for opportunities outside of the country to immigrate and to get those opportunities for them and their kids. My parents had 2 children. I was the older one. My sister was younger. She was 10 years old. So after some searching, my dad was able to get a job at UMass Amherst as a research engineer for a professor. And with a H-1B visa, we had H-4 visas, we were able to come to the United States with him. So that's how we came here, and for me as a 14-year-old, it was very exciting. I heard all of these amazing things about the United States. I've seen all the Hollywood movies. I thought, like, you know, the roads were made out of gold and everybody had a big mansion and all the things that, you know, kids would think about the United States seeing it on TV. But it was also a little scary because my dad had a year-to-year visa. So every year we had to worry about his visa being renewed based on like budget and funding and what was going on in the department and in the college. And it was really like nerve-wracking to kind of worry about that every year. So it was exciting to move to a new country, to move to the United States, but it was also, we were all a little nervous about continuing on our journey here.
Hello. So my story is also very intertwined with UMass. The first time that I came here, and this is my second time in the country, I was 27 years old, and my husband was coming to UMass for his PhD. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going too. This is an adventure, right? And also, I watched all the Hollywood movies. My first impression here was, oh, okay, I'm in a movie, because it was January and there was snow everywhere. I never saw snow in my life, so it was amazing. I thought I was in a movie. I struggled with the language a little bit. knew a little bit of English, but speaking was very different. At the time, because of my husband's visa, it was a J1, I could work with a work authorization. So little by little, I was getting more and more integrated in the community. Then we decided to go back to Brazil after he finished his PhD. And when we decided to come back a second time, also it was because of UMass. But then it was a much more thought decision, right? Okay, we're moving, we're going to pursue our careers there, and we're going to stay as long we can. This time, and I've been here for 4 years, we came first with H1 and H4 visa, and then I couldn't work, and that was tough. Until we got our green card, it was a difficult time for me, because I felt very productive, but I couldn't show my community how I could benefit everybody with my work. Luckily, Mohawk Trail opened their arms for me, and I could be an intern here because I couldn't work, but I could study. So I took advantage of that and started to be part of this community too, and then I felt very included. So.
Thank you. My name is Buzz Eisenberg. I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I came to the United States about 54 years ago here in Massachusetts. I didn't need a visa. They let me in without one. But my family, I come from two families on the maternal side and the paternal side of immigrants. On the paternal side, my great-grandfather, whom I never met, I was born in 1950, and in the 40s, he was killed in a gas chamber for the crime of being Jewish in Austria. His son and my grandfather, Samuel Eisenberg, came here, eventually had 3 children here, eventually was able to bring his wife here. I could blather on about a lot of stories about being the product of the immigrant experience, but I can tell you this I just spoke at the Congregational Church in Ashfield, where St. John's Episcopal and the Congo Church got together to talk about sanctuary for immigrants, and they asked me to speak. I was moved by that, and in the introduction, I was introduced by talking about these awards and recognitions that I've achieved as part of the sort of formal introduction, and the fact that I'm an attorney. So I have a number of degrees and diplomas. I have those awards. In my 45 years of practice, none of them have ever adorned any wall in my office or in my house. The only thing I had framed on my wall was my grandfather's naturalization papers, because in our family that was so revered as a set of possibilities, as a fulfillment of the dream of opportunity, which my family successfully lived. And I have spent, I'm an attorney. By the way, there's an error. I'm not an immigration attorney, although I've done 22 immigration cases. I'm a trial attorney, so I am not an expert like Alex, who works for the Center for New Americans, is in fact an immigration attorney. But I'm just a trial attorney, but I love doing immigration because I love working with the people that we work with, and I feel a kinship to them because I realize, we all have a lot of differences, but ultimately we're all really just the same.
Hello. So I'm Rosa Guerra. I am originally from Argentina. I came here 30 years ago. I was 30 years old. The story, I came when I was 30, but I promised myself when I was a child I didn't want to live in Argentina. My parents were from Spain. They emigrated because the civil war in Spain to Argentina. In the 1970s, Domingo Perón was a dictator, and he was voted by, was the second time that he was voted, and him and his wife, they were for 3 years in power. He was a dictator, so there were guerrillas, there was a lot of economic, political, and social unrest. So it was very hard to go to school, to be locked in the house. So this was very hard. So then on 76, there was a military coup. So the militaries were ruling until 1982 or 83. The democracy came back. But all those years were 22,000 people killed and disappeared, killed or tortured, whoever, 22,000 to 30,000 people. So it was really hard. I didn't want to be there. So when I had the chance, I came over. Well, it took many years. It's really hard to talk about this because I really never talk. Then I'm very grateful. Sorry, I'm very grateful to this country because they gave me, to me and many of us immigrants, gave us the opportunity to go ahead in life. I could go to school. I have a learning disability that never was addressed in Argentina. I was a very bad student because the learning disability, and when I came here, I had a lot of support. I could go to school. I could have a life. And now I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Norzan. I'm a student here at Mohawk. I'm a senior graduating soon. And I immigrated here recently. It was 2023. It was, I immigrated here on August 27th, I think, or 23rd. Yeah, and I really clearly remember my immigration process because I remember waiting for 2 hours in the line of U.S. Embassy in Nepal. So I just stood there for 2 hours, waited in line. I was dressed up formally for the first time in my life, and I was alone because you couldn't bring parents with you. So I was holding so many things, so many paperwork that I barely understood. I was 15, I think. And I just had to walk up there. I was navigating it all by myself. And during my interview, which took place 4 hours after I crossed the line, there was a beautiful woman. She was the first American that I kind of talked to, I think. She was beautiful, she was tall, she had blonde curly hair, and she asked me some really basic questions, and I answered them, and she was like, "Congrats, you have your visa." And I was like, wow, I waited my whole life for this, and I just got it, what? And 5 months later, I immigrated here, and it's been great ever since. That's it.
Wow. Thank you all. We can hand it back. I just want to reflect on a few things that have come up already in the conversation. The real complexity of the origin story, the reasons that people come to the United States. Everything from war, persecution, some of history's greatest atrocities, and some come seeking economic opportunity, educational opportunity. There's so many things that are behind these moves, and I think these are things that embolden people to leave what's familiar. I wanted to ask you a little, because one of the things I'm really struck by is how really integral you all are to this community. And this is an incredible community. It's a very welcoming community, but you're all very much at the heart of it. And that can be a very difficult thing, the process of integrating into the community, settling in the United States. There are language challenges, there are economic challenges, especially in Massachusetts, to finding, housing that is central and easily accessible. There are any number of challenges. So if you can share with us, either based on your own experience, your family's experience, how you combated isolation. Isolation is also very much part of the immigrant experience. How did you find the experience of settling in and becoming part of a community?
Assimilation was tough for me. Ukrainian culture is pretty different from American culture. I had to learn a lot of social norms. For example, in my culture, standing close to people is totally normal. You just stuff yourself on a bus and you just stand in people's faces and I had to learn very quickly that Americans are very much into their space. Hey, give me some room, So, for example, I had to learn that. And then also in my culture, we don't smile very often. We're kind of very serious people. People who smile, people think are crazy or weird. So I'm why are all these American people smiling? And they're are you okay? Are you sad? Is something wrong? So I had to learn to be able to smile, right? So there's a few of these examples. Oh, another one. We don't say please and thank you to our friends and family. It's you only say please and thank you in very formal situations. So I had to learn I was called a princess and rude and all sorts of things. So I had to learn to my pleases and thank yous. So that was one thing that was getting used to the environment, the culture, fitting in, looking for friends, just understanding social norms. That's a tough process, especially when you're a teenager and you just want to be popular and you want to fit in and you want the kids in school to like you and such. But I think growing up and getting older and maturing and becoming an adult, you kind of learn to appreciate keeping your original culture, but also learning the American culture. So I would say now I would consider myself bicultural because I totally am proud and I appreciate and I celebrate the Ukrainian side of me, but I'm also very proud to be an American and all the things I've learned about American culture and all the great and wonderful things that Americans have taught me, I celebrate as well. So I'm very lucky to have had both of those experiences, to live in both countries and to see the different sides of the world. And I have also learned that American people love meeting immigrants and learning about their culture, and they're fascinated by people who speak other languages, and they want to always ask these questions about my country and how it's been. So I have felt that there is a lot of kind of warmth and welcoming environment here, especially in Massachusetts. We're very welcoming here to immigrants. And just kind of learning as an immigrant that it's okay to still keep your culture that you came from, but also appreciate and love and be proud of the American culture that you've learned.
I think I think we all are very lucky to be part of a community that is very embracing, very warm, right? I never felt out of place here because, as you said, everybody always welcomed me with open arms. That said, that's a big difference between Brazil and the United States. In Brazil, we hug. So it will be actually, open arms and hugging in Brazil, not so much here.
Give it that space.
Exactly. But, I feel welcome in different ways. But I still feel like a Brazilian, and I think that's important too, especially as an educator, bringing a different perspective to the classroom. I think is also important. So it's part of my identity, being a Brazilian, and then I never felt like that. Right? When you're in Brazil, you don't think I'm Brazilian. It's only when you face another culture that you start to think about your own identity. So, yeah, for me, the most difficult part is this cultural adjusting, right? As you said, for you, you were to too serious for me. I have to control myself, not to touch people, not to hug people. And I miss that. When I go to Brazil, I miss that, how easy it is to interact with people when you know the social codes. Here, I'm always thinking, am I doing it right? Am I getting there in at the right time? So it's a constant process of learning, I would say. But as I said, I feel very lucky that I was welcomed by this community. So far, it's been a very good experience.
So far, I think it'll continue.
I hope so.
I too feel very blessed that I live in a community that is welcoming and accepting and feels like value is added by our diversity. It's not something we should tolerate, it's something we should celebrate. We were born as a pluralistic society, and we should be proud of it. Obviously, I'm not an immigrant. However, the immigrants, I did have an experience when I was un momento en castellano. En 71, yo y dos compañeros viajábamos por caballo para 9 meses. So I and 2 other fellows, one a Brit and one that I went to college with in Philadelphia, we went down to Argentina. In Tucumán, Argentina, we bought 7 horses, and we traveled for 9 months on horseback. It's a wonderful thing for a 21-year-old to do. It's particularly wonderful, as adventurous as it was, because I learned what it was like to try to make yourself understood in a language you didn't know. And every one of the immigrants I've represented as an attorney here, water was poured on my face to understand how hard it is to learn English as you're trying to transport your existence from another country to another country. And I have learned how much courage it takes to emigrate from your own country and to immigrate into another country and to try to experience the cultural transformation that you two have just talked about. And I mean, it's a kind of real courage. It's not, I don't use that word lightly. Every day you have to get up, and every conversation you wonder whether or not you're being understood and whether you're properly understanding or whether you're misspeaking. And sometimes you're saying things that are of importance. You know, the moment is important and you're not sure if you're actually achieving what you set out to do. It's an extraordinary experience. Right now I'm representing 2 people who are still learning English, and they are assimilating so well into, and our community has welcomed them so greatly. But even after being here for a year, they're not confident in what they're saying. They're not confident that they're hearing properly. But once they gain more confidence, and I'm sure the 4 of you really do understand this, you feel more comfortable saying, could you repeat that? I didn't understand it. Because at first you just want to nod and pretend that you understand it. And that's what I've learned. You got that? And I experienced that in Argentina. Like, you know, I had to buck it up and say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Or say it slowly, or say it a different way so that I can learn. But I feel enriched by meeting people who have demonstrated that they have that kind of courage, the courage to find a new frontier, the courage to look for something better. The people that I represent generally, they, we confuse these terms. They seek, it's all about status in the world of immigration in the United States, and there are all these terms for status, and one of those statuses they want to achieve, they seek asylum so that they can achieve refugee status, because we have an exemption in our law for refugees, which is being totally ignored today. People who are seeking asylum, who deserve refugee status, who are my grandfather, who are these people who courageously come to a new world just seeking to do what we all want to do, which is just live a productive and fulfilling life. It is, for me, it's one of the great joys that I've had meeting those people, working with those people, and admiring those people.
As Latinos, we are very expressive and direct, and here they are more polite and subtle about everything. So we love to hug and kiss. So I had to refrain myself with years. I learned and I'm used to now. But it was hard. I remember the first time I was in this gathering, and when I was leaving, right next to me there was an American woman, and I said, okay, bye, and I kissed her, and she looked at me. Oh my, I said, oh, I'm sorry, and I had to explain myself. We kiss everybody. So this was interesting. But we are very affectionate. About isolation, I put myself out there because I start going to dances, and here in Greenfield, Massachusetts, Northampton, there are a lot of things going on. So always I put myself out there, and I met a lot of people. Always I felt welcomed. You know, even our cultures are different. Maybe the American usually is a little bit more, takes a little bit more space, but always I felt welcome. Very seldom, I don't even remember. I always felt very good here. I'm very happy that I'm in Massachusetts, that we are in a progressive democratic state. So thank you.
About the phase of isolation that you mentioned, I definitely had that. When I first immigrated here, I just kind of like closed myself off. I didn't really want to talk. It wasn't that sad. It was fine. I had friends from back home that I would talk to, but yeah, I just like didn't really reach out. And another like cultural difference that I had to get used to was making small talks, because I could never. And now I think I'm a bit better, and that's in part thanks to the fact that this year I started volunteering at Bay State Medical Center in Greenfield. And volunteering was such a game changer for me, because I feel like that really opened me up. I would have small talks with all the patients. Some patients would sit me down and talk to me for hours on end. Yeah, and it was really fun. And I think, yeah, that's been a huge help.
Thank you. I have many more questions, but I wanted to pause here. You all have such incredibly rich stories and narratives. So I want to give the audience a chance to also pose questions or share their thoughts and insights. And while you all gather your questions, I did want to reflect on a couple of things. First of all, the language. Thank you for bringing that up. But I also wanted to stress how difficult it is to learn a new language as an adult. That part of your brain doesn't function as well anymore. So when you come, I came to the US when I was 6, and it still took a couple of years, but you pick up the language. But for an adult, it's a much, much more difficult thing, and I think that can be a point of friction in communities when people don't speak the language fluently, and it can be interpreted as they're not trying, or they don't want to invest the time and energy. And the reality is it's just very, very difficult to learn a new language. And people who haven't had to learn English may not be aware of how confusing a language it is. It's not phonetic. The rules don't always make sense. Someone pointed out to me, a colleague of mine who's a linguist, we were talking about spelling bees, and I had my spelling bee experience. I love my spelling bee experience in 2nd grade. And she said spelling bees don't totally make sense in other languages because there's nothing to figure out. The word is how it sounds, and in English that's not often the case. So you do have to learn a system of language, a system of meaning that may not be easy to access, especially as an adult.
I just want to add one thing which I've learned, which is quite often people who come here as an adult and are learning the language, and they're saying the right word, but I don't know it because of their accent. And that happens so frequently, and so that it's on me. If I just listen more carefully, I'll understand that, oh, they're saying the right word, but because I make them feel insecure when I act like I don't understand. Just something I've learned.
Can I say something too? And for me, it's very frustrating because in Portuguese, I have this whole universe that doesn't relate with what I know in English. So it's like trying to put the universe into the earth, right? It's completely different. So sometimes I have to rethink what I'm trying to say to fit in that vocabulary that I have in English. And that's frustrating because it limits my emotions, my feelings, right? So it's not easy.
Anyone in the audience want to?
Grab a mic, if that's
would-
okay.
Do we want another mic? Or
Do we
I
have,
think we have one, so
Yes.
we'll just have them come up.
if you don't mind? Thank you.
Just for each of you, have you gone through the process of becoming a citizen, and how did you make that decision? It's me. I turned it off airplane mode to call my son, and I apologize.
Pretty.
Yes, so I got my citizenship about 14 years ago. So the way I got my citizenship was actually kind of like a cool story. So as I told you guys, my family at first was on a work visa. My dad was working at UMass and kind of having like kind of year-to-year renewal situation. Eventually, my dad applied for a green card. And when you apply for a green card, you kind of give a reason, right? So his reason was extraordinary ability. So my dad is like actually a certified genius now, right? Because he had to prove, so you have to prove that you are so intelligent and so successful and you have so much potential and so much to give to the United States that they should give you a green card so you can stay and do all of your work, right? And all the contributions and give back to the community. And my dad had to submit so much paperwork. He had to submit all the articles he's written and books he's written and all the things he's invented and all the collaborations he's done and all the conferences he's been to and all the classes he's taken, his education, he has a PhD, all the things. And after all that laborious process, he was granted the green card, and we were able to apply for a green card, the rest of our family as well. And there is a certain waiting period. You can wait for like 2 or 3 years, and then you can apply for your citizenship. So we were on the green card for a little bit. My whole family applied for citizenship, and we were able to get that way. So it's actually a pretty cool story, and I like telling people that my dad is a genius.
So we are in the same process. In 2023, we got our green card. So we have to wait to apply for a citizenship. But when this time comes, I would like to apply because I think it's important to, vote and be a citizen, participate. But at this point, we cannot be a citizen yet.
Lori Millman from the Center for New Americans was here earlier. You heard her invite you to July 4th is when the citizenship ceremony takes place. You really should go. I don't cry easily. Involuntarily, the tears stream down your cheek because it's so beautiful. Today, something really wonderful happened. A man showed up. Marwaz, what's his last name? I can't remember, but he's from Vermont. You may have heard about it. He showed up to have a citizenship meeting with USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, and he was detained there because he had been protesting the Gaza war. He's a Colombian student. He was held in Vermont. He was about to be sent down to the same Louisiana processing center, a dreadful place. But a judge stopped it, and today a judge ruled that he was unlawfully detained and ordered the United States to let him free. He came out today. This was a situation which it's an apex for people who've been working so hard to achieve that status, permanent citizenship through a green card, and then achieve the citizenship of the country that you aspire to become part of and you've been contributing to and living in, and then to have him arrested unlawfully because of free speech. Things have changed, and I just think we should be walking through that incredible exhibit that I'm so proud of Mohawk for having, whoever put that together there, and we should remember how lucky we are to be here and how incumbent it is to welcome others who deserve to be here among us.
I have a question. For those of you that have immigrated here, some when they were young, some still in the process, how are you feeling right now with the current status of our administration about either your chances or your desire to be here or not be here? Has that changed for you in the last 101 days?
I think, would you like to, were you planning to respond to the,
Yeah,
to the previous? So we'll just
Get there.
There was
Yes.
a previous question on the floor.
Oh,
Yeah. So it took for me to be eligible for my citizenship. It took about 9 years, and I remember I got the application and I said I know how to write and read, follow instructions, I will fill it out. So I fill it out and I got the study the 100 questions. They asked me just one or two, and that was it.
The president list. That's the question I got.
Yeah. So this is how I got it.
I'm still on a green card. I have to wait to give my citizenship test. And about the last 101 days, my dad said, "Daughter, do not speak up." Yeah, so that's how it is. But yeah, that's that.
So on that note, I just want to name the vulnerability that a lot of people have in this moment, including people on this panel, regardless of citizenship status, green card status. So I want to also invite you to not respond to things if that is not something that you're comfortable with. Right. So especially, it's a difficult moment to say things, really regardless of citizenship status right now.
Well, I'd like to, I can answer, I feel comfortable answering. I think the first thing I want to do is acknowledge my privilege as a white person, as an immigrant who comes from a European country. So my family is nervous, like every immigrant is nervous, right? But my family feels a little bit less nervous because we understand that privilege that we have white skin. And it makes me so angry when I hear people say, well, you came here the right way, right? Like you had, I'm like, so I had a little stamp in my passport, a little visa, a little tiny little square little sticker, and that's the only difference between me and a person who's trying to get a better life for their children and going through all this trouble to try to immigrate to another country to protect their family and take care of their family. So I'm that person who is, I am very lucky and fortunate that I have white skin, but I also do get very defensive and upset and angry, and I have a lot of things to say when people do try to say, well, you're one of the good ones, okay? So I do feel like that about this question, so that's my answer to that.
So at this moment, I think I feel comfortable saying that we chose to be here. We chose to immigrate to this country. And we plan to stay because we love our life here, we love our friends, we miss our family in Brazil, but we choose to stay.
Right now it's really hard because this gives me flashbacks for my childhood, because now we have a dictator. And there is a witch hunt out there, and there was a witch hunt when I was a child. I was running from that to come into another one, but we shouldn't give up. We had to keep going and just stay put until either there is an impeachment or he takes off when the time is, and then everything will come back to normal. So they will revert everything in the future.
Our panelists are not shy.
We have some things to say.
They have a few things to say. I think I saw some more hands, or are there other questions out there? No? Okay, let me jump back in then. I wanted to pick up on things that have already come up in our conversation. And I think maybe this applies more to those who have more recent immigrant memories or experiences. We've talked about being bicultural. We've talked about the relationship between home and here. And I think, personally, I think immigrants are the ultimate boundary dwellers. Like you're in two different places. You're in two different cultures and mindsets. So I wanted to ask, first, how you navigate that. And also, so I think the panel is called Becoming an American. Right? So what does that mean to you? What does becoming an American mean to you? And that is to anyone, really, who has that framework in mind.
Can I start? Yeah, go for it. We'll finish out.
So my whole life, I've never really had like a solid identity. I'm Tibetan, and Tibet doesn't really exist because it's annexed by China. And then I lived in India for the first 8 years of my life. So yeah, I kind of grew up in India. And then I went to Nepal, and I lived for like the next 8 years of my life in Nepal, and now I'm here. So I'm Tibetan, but if you call me Indian, that also doesn't make a difference. If you call me Nepali, I'll say I'm Nepali. If you call me American, I'll say I'm American. So it just depends on which country I'm in, basically. Yeah, that's it.
What does it mean to be an American?
Julie,
Oh,
it's up to you.
To me, to be an American, I don't forget my roots. Still, I have my own traditions, but I adapted to the new culture that embraced me, and I embrace it back. So, yeah, like, have to think about it. Or someone else.
Well, I was born in this country. So first of all, congratulations. We are now celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War's commencement. Here on Saturday in Ashfield, my hometown, where I am the town moderator, we will have our annual town meeting. The greatest example of democracy in the world, except for one province in Switzerland. We don't elect people to sit as a legislature in our town like 250 other towns in Massachusetts. Of the 351 towns in Massachusetts, we have an open town meeting, which means that every registered voter is a legislator. And we make our laws, bylaws, and ordinances, and we set our budget just as they're doing in the State House for the state right now. We are about to, on the first Saturday in May, that's when we have our annual town meeting, but exactly 250 years and 29 days ago, Ashfield had a town meeting when it was voted that in March they had allocated £6 British to buy enough ammunition to stop the British oppressors. In the town meeting on April 3rd, 250 years ago, Ashfield voted, when some people were saying I'm loyal to the Crown in the Parliament, most of Ashfielders said, we are not afraid. We stand up to tyranny. They doubled that £6 to 12 British pounds. They had a lot of ammunition, and they created a militia called Minute, M-I-N-I-T, Men. We named that after Amherst. And they then walked to Concord and Lexington, but got there too late to participate. But they proudly participated in the next several years in the War of Independence. I say that because I think being a patriotic American is not just enjoying everything this country offers, it's having the courage to say no to tyranny. It's standing up for each other. It's understanding that in a true democracy, we're all better together than we'll ever be alone. And I think that's what this country stands for. It's how it was birthed, and I think it's as true now, today, 250 years later, as it ever has been.
So I'm still in that process that I'm still Brazilian, right? And I'm not sure what becoming an American is yet, right? I'm in that process. But for me, I'm trying to participate in my community, going to fairs and, interacting with people, knowing the people. I think feeling part of the community is what is making me partially American or future American. But becoming an American and a citizen in the future, I think for me the most precious thing is the right to vote that I don't have now, and it's a privilege, right? And it's an important right, and I look forward to have that right again in the country that I chose to live in.
It's all good. So being an American means so many things to me. The right to vote, grounding myself in my community, the American dream, right? The house and the kids and all the things. And I think also embracing those American values that make us to be proud to be Americans, right? So Americans are very persistent, they're outspoken, they're strong. If they see injustice, they speak up on it, right? If they see somebody being mistreated, they stand up for the little guy. And one example of the way that I feel like I practice my Americanism is by being a union activist. And unions are those true traditional American values that we're all proud of and that we continue working on and that we continue carrying on in our country, that are keeping us strong, that are keeping people who are the working class people having the chance at that American dream. So through my union activism, I definitely embrace a lot of those American values and feel like I can make a difference for my community and people around me. And I think that's what being American means. It's like really just like being active, making a difference, being strong, embracing all the great values. Grounding yourself and not giving up on the American dream for yourself and for those people around you.
Fantastic.
I had the most time of everybody to think of that one. So.
That's true. There are pros and cons to going last. One of the reasons I asked the question, and thank you all, those are incredibly rich answers, is that it is a confusing experience being an immigrant. And for many of us, we have family elsewhere. We have people that we care about and things that we care about elsewhere. And it can be difficult, and I'm very sympathetic to people who maybe don't have that experience and don't understand it. Because being an immigrant, especially a recent immigrant, means that you are more than one thing, right? And the truth is we are all more than one thing. And we can hold multiple identities at once. But for some reason, there's a little bit of more difficulty with the political imagination, thinking of someone as more than one national identity, more than one culture. And I think, Norzan, you said it so matter-of-factly. Yeah, I'm all these things. I've lived in these places. They're a part of me. I'm all these things. There isn't really much to explain, but it can be, and I just want to recognize that it is legitimate for people to wonder about this. And, you know, in the most benign form, it is wonder and inquiry. In less benign forms, it can be mistrust. It can be, you know, suspicions of disloyalty. And I'm part of a community where we are often subject to this mistrust because of dual identities. And so I think it's worth talking through and thinking through just the simple fact you can be more than one thing. And it does not decrease in any way your ability to be American or embrace an American identity. You also have really, you know, many of you have talked about voice and votes already, and this is the rubric that brings us here today. This is the Smithsonian exhibit that is organized here, hosted here, and invites everyone to reflect on this. So the vote is the most concrete way in which American citizens express their ideas and preferences. But voice is much broader than that. Voice, free speech, the right to speak and speak up, this is a right that accrues to all persons in the US, regardless of, so you are recognized as a person with a voice the moment you set foot in the US. And so I was going to invite you to reflect on that. I know there are challenges with that in the current moment. Maybe not for these panelists. You have no problem with voice at this moment, I've seen. But maybe you can talk about more your communities and people in your circles, because I know that this is a challenging moment, both for the right to vote and for the right of free speech, and those two categories belong to two different groups in the US. But please, your father said don't say anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you?
That's
Are you sticking with that?
statement in itself.
I think a lot of people have that idea right now.
I can
honestly.
say something.
Yeah.
So every
Move the thing, was making
the thing.
a sound.
Yeah.
Push it up. Hello. So we have every year, for the last few years, at Center for New Americans, we have Immigrant Voices. That is a festival where all the our student immigrants are invited to perform, to dance, and sing, whatever they want to do, representing their country. And right now it's a standby because many of them are really scared. They don't want to come. So we had to stop it. Many of our students, there were a couple of students, they want to come on Zoom to class. They don't want to come in person. They are afraid of ICE coming. So still we tell them, you know, now some people with no documents, they say you have to go and register. Personally, I tell them don't register. And there is a lot of fear out there. They don't know what happened. They have jobs, they rent houses, and they're afraid that they are going to be kicked out one day. The ICE is going to show up, and where life goes for them, you know. And they are doing all these jobs that no one wants to do. Many of them are doing jobs, you know, scrubbing the toilets, doing the housekeeping jobs that most people are educated here, and we don't have people doing labor, you know, the farms, you know, we don't have. If they come and they get people from the farm, who is going to go to the farm? What kind of vegetables we are going to eat? We're not going to have any more fresh vegetables, or very expensive. So we had to try to keep it strong and
Yeah. Yeah. See, I've never met a microphone I didn't like, so And there's so much to say about this, so I'll try to be concise, because that kind of fear that so many good people are experiencing right now, shame on us. Yes, I'm very proud of my country, but not right now. These are tough times to not... Look, okay, that dichotomy that you were alluding to a moment ago, I'm a lawyer. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm a constitutional lawyer. So I'll try to find a good example. About 54 years ago, in the arena of criminal justice, the question was a Fourth Amendment question. And the Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers in effect, shall not be violated, but upon probable cause. And then it goes on to say you need an oath or an affidavit, affirmation they call it. But here's what was ruled on by our Supreme Court decades ago. That didn't just pertain to U.S. citizens. Any person in the United States, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers in effect, applied to anyone, any person who was here in the United States. Age, nationality, what language you spoke, citizenship or not, everyone enjoys that privilege. And right now we're seeing people being literally grabbed and hoods thrown over their heads because of something they said, something they believed without probable cause, notwithstanding what it says in our Constitution. And it's being done in the name of the very Constitution that's being violated. So I hate to politicize this wonderful forum with these incredible people who have these wonderful stories, except when the question is about, these multiple, we all deserve that. Those are human rights. Those aren't just rights that should be afforded to Americans. We should all be able to believe what we believe. I mean, there's got to be limits, like my right to swing my arm stops where your nose begins, right? But other than what we do to each other, we should be able to believe what we want and say what we want. And the fact that we are using that as an excuse to throw aspirants like these wonderful 5 people, out of this country, it's as un-American as it gets. And I don't think now's the time, 250 years later, to say we won't tolerate tyranny. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it goes to her. Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree, as cliche as it sounds, it's going to take all of us coming together and standing up for immigrants to have their rights. And I think there are definitely immigrants in this country right now who don't feel comfortable speaking up right now. They feel targeted. They feel like they don't really have a voice. There are immigrants like me, as you guys have heard my little rant earlier, that feel like we can speak up for people like me, other immigrants. I'm a believer that illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants have the same rights as documented immigrants. Like, I totally believe in that. I don't think that little sticker visa makes me any better than another person who's looking to come to this country for the same opportunities that my parents looked for. And I think it's going to really reaching out to our allies, American citizens, people who have immigrants in their family, or people who immigrated here, their great-grandparents immigrated here, right? Or people who don't remember when somebody immigrated in their family here, who never really maybe thought about immigration rights, or never thought that they need to get involved with immigration rights or speaking up for other immigrants. We really have to organize and come together and say we're not going to accept people being targeted and mistreated. And it's going to take a lot of us to really put that strength together, but we can't give up, right?
Please, Tinky, do you want to join us?
Sure, for a minute.
Yeah.
Put it back up. So I'm Tinky. I'm one of the organizers. Can you hear me? Probably. It doesn't.
Do you want to come up so we can see you?
I have a voice, yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that unlike Buzz, I do cry easily, and you guys have moved me so much today. And it's true, what Amel said. I truly believe that the real American experience, and this is based on my personal background as well as observing you all, is having more than one perspective. And that can be really hard because sometimes you don't feel as though you fit in. But it gives you a different way of looking at this country that is so enriching. So we appreciate your being here. Amel, I want to be you when I grow up, even though you're young enough to be my daughter. But you are amazing. You're all amazing. And I just wanted to say we'd all be happy to hug you when this is over because you deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and thank you to our hosts. It's been a great discussion, and I'm really grateful to have this great community here. Thank you.